35 years ago, yes, I'm that old. In Washington, D.C., I was just about to premiere my new cabaret act. Ralph Fredericks in Leathers and Feathers, a gay extravaganza. Now, when I look back on it tonight, it was really just a whole bunch of very sad Sondheim songs and a bunch of dick jokes. But opening night, I was about to premiere the newest song I'd written, Sadomaso Wonderland. Grab your whips and get them cracking. I'll draw blood from your back end, then rub in some salt. Bad boy, it's your fault. In the Sadomaso, Sadomaso, in the Sadomaso Wonderland. Now, in the front row, it was almost like gold was the handsomest man I'd ever seen. In fact, it burned my eyes to look at him. And he was there, and he enjoyed the show by himself. And he was there the next night, and the next night, always in the same seat. And on closing night, he was there with a friend. Now, it took me about an hour to get out of the theater, and when I left, there he was waiting to meet me, and I was kind of excited. And I said, hello, and he said, your show makes me feel brave. And his friend said, I hate show tunes. He introduced himself as Mark, and his friend was William, and they were lovers. And I said, well, I hope we can become friends. He said, well, that's inevitable. Back in the early 80s, when you had AIDS, it wasn't like today where they could prolong your life. Once they said you had AIDS, it was a death sentence. And when Mark called me to tell me he was sick, I said, you know, I'll come every Wednesday because I'm free, and I will bring a pint of ice cream from Baskin Robbins, and every week we'll have a different flavor. And once we get to 32, we'll start all over again. And he said, I just want to make it to Rocky Road. I would visit him on these Wednesdays, and we would just watch TV and talk and laugh. But he was really fading. And one day, William, his lover, called and said, could you plan on staying longer this Wednesday, because I have to leave for appointments? And I said, not a problem. When I got there, the apartment was different because there was no constant sound of the respirator. And when I went in to see Mark, he was really almost comatose. And I sat with him, and I sang, and I whispered, and at one point he took my hand, and his eyes opened, and he was young again. And then he said, the river, and then he died. When William came home, I said, William, I'm so sorry you weren't here. He said, Mark planned this because he knew he didn't want to be alone, and he knew that I couldn't bear to watch him die. That night I got a phone call from William, and he said, would I please sing at Mark's funeral? And I said, of course. And 3 days later, I was in a packed church, and William was in the front, drunk and weeping, and I sang, did you ever know that you're my hero and everything I would want to be? I could fly higher than an eagle because you are the wind beneath my wings. Thank God for you, the wind beneath my wings. Honey, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And William came to me and said, I think we're going to be friends. And I said, good. He said, because Mark said it was inevitable. And then he gave me a little silver bracelet that Mark had always worn and that he wanted me to have. Now, William, after he had a little bit of time of mourning, he said, honey, I need a laugh and I need a cocktail. So I met him, and we went out to some overpriced bars and flirted with young people who would have nothing to do with us. But that was the night I learned about William, that he was a rich, famous doctor's son, Southern royalty, from Mobile, Alabama, and he had trained to be an interior designer, the old money kind, you know, Chippendale chairs and floral chintz drapes. He was not a curious man, William. He didn't like plays, and he didn't like dancing, and he didn't like, you know, art. But what he did love was movies with famous women movie stars that gay men loved. He could quote every line from, let's say, Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. As God is my witness, I will never be hungry again. Norma Desmond. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. Joan Crawford and Mommy Dearest. No wire hangers! And his favorite, because he's related to her, was the broken, Southern, drunken, trapped Belle. From Streetcar Named Desire, Blanche Dubois. I want magic. I don't want to know the truth. That's why I tell my lies, because I need beauty. Now, William and I like to take these little day trips, and we would get in his car and we would drive much too fast through the country, and we would stop at like country antiques and auctions. And one day we went to this grungy old place, and in the back were these dusty porcelain, pure white lamps in the shape of swimming tropical fish. And I said, oh, I think I'll buy those. He said, no, please, let me have them. I need them. And I said, okay. I have lamps. And as we carried them back to the car, he said, I'm going to tell everyone that they once belonged to Jacqueline Onassis, and they were in her house on the beach in Cape Cod. And by the time we got back to town, he believed it. William finally lost the toss of the dice, and his HIV went into full-blown AIDS. And there was really no one to take care of him in Washington. And so he was going to do something he swore he'd never do, which was go back to the family ranch in Mobile. When he got there, his mother had just been put into constant nursing home because of Alzheimer's, and his father was put into a nursing home too. So William had to run the mansion. When his mother died and finally his father died, William said, oh my God, money. He was going to inherit enough money. So he called me and said, I have got to get out of here. I have to have one more chance. He said, if I was a movie star, what would you call me? And I said, you know what I'd call you? I'd call you Dylan St. James. He said, well, from now on, I am Dylan St. James. He packed up everything, and he moved to Palm Springs, California, where, honey, if you ain't rich and you ain't young and beautiful, you're invisible. But William is constantly optimistic. So he moved to California, and I said, well, did you take your lamps? He said, yes, and they once belonged to Joan Crawford. So William's idea of maybe meeting some people was, he said, if you don't go out, you don't meet them. So every day in the heat of the day, he'd drink a bottle of white wine, and then at 4 o'clock, he would walk 4 blocks to this fancy gay restaurant and have exact 2 martinis and order an appetizer. And he did that, and he said, and I tip very well because waiters will spread the word. He then got the call that there was no money, that it had all gone to take care of his parents in the hospitals, and the sale of the house went for taxes. So William was living on his disability, and now he would drink 2 bottles of wine at home, 2 buck chuck, and then he would walk to the bar every other day, where he now has 1 martini and eats the peanuts free on the bar. His phone calls, we talked a lot, and his phone calls, he began to sound almost deranged. He pretended that he was friends with Johnny Depp for some reason, and he believed it. And one day I called him and he says, Ralph, you know, I'm tired, but I still believe in love. About 2 months ago, I got a phone call from my friend Chris, who we were both friends of William, and he said, William, and I said, he committed suicide. And Chris said, how did you know? I said, because it was inevitable. I can't bear a naked light bulb, or a crude remark, or a cruel gesture. His family swept in like the wrath of God and took everything and closed his apartment and closed his accounts and closed his Facebook and closed everything. So none of us really knew what happened. And I said, I know what happened. William put on Edith Piaf, and he lit magnolia-scented candles. And he took a handful of pills and washed it down with the best bottle of champagne his last nickel could buy. I need to believe that when William got to the pearly gates, which of course they had painted beige in his honor, he said, my name is William. No, Dylan St. James. No, Blanche. And I don't know you, but nevertheless, I have always depended upon the kindness of strangers. And when they opened the gates, there was Mark, solid gold, so beautiful it burned your eyes to look at him. And he was whole, and he was young. And when he put his arms out to William, William said, I'm sorry, I just couldn't wait any longer. And Mark would say, oh, don't you know, this moment is inevitable. And William says, but look, we have new lamps. And they once belonged to Mary Magdalene. Did you ever know that you're my hero? And everything I would want to be. I can fly higher than an eagle, because you are the wind beneath my wings. Thank God for you, the wind beneath my wings.